From Midland, Odessa, and Big Spring, we're Basin trusted, Basin proud. This is Local 2 News Good Day in HD.
Well, we're warming up again today with new record highs on the way. Get the latest on how long all this could last in my full forecast.
Also, one man dead in Midland after an officer-involved shooting overnight. What we know so far coming up. And leveling the playing field at Midland ISD, the disparity between race and graduation rate, and how the interim superintendent hopes to close the gap. Then, a nasty stench still lingers in the Ector County Clerk's office. How they plan to resolve the issue once and for all. Good morning and welcome into Good Day. I'm Rebecca Jeffrey. Thanks for joining us this morning. Today is Tuesday, October 11th, 2016. New this morning, one man dead after an officer-involved shooting in Midland. Reports show a man was causing a disturbance in the area of Industrial and Wall around 7:30 Monday night. When officers arrived, they learned the man was armed with a gun. During a confrontation, he was shot by police. The suspect later died at the hospital. There are no other injuries from this incident. Sarah Bustillos with the City of Midland telling us police are unsure of what led up to the shooting.
We're not completely clear yet, so we're not releasing details on what happened during the confrontation, but we did have a very active scene out here, people investigating.
The two officers involved in the shooting will be placed on administrative leave, and meanwhile, the Texas Rangers will investigate. For the latest on the story as it develops, visit our website, yourbasin.com.
Now, your weather on the tubes.
And time now to send it over to meteorologist John Mayer with a check of our forecast. And John, I miss fall already.
Yeah, it's not coming back yet. We still got plenty more of that heat, especially today and tomorrow. Near record highs again as we crank those numbers up there, getting towards the 90s by this afternoon. For now, it's not too bad, though. Mostly clear skies, and we're looking at some semi-cooler temperatures early on this morning. We're really not looking at that heat settling in just quite yet. But for now, it looks like we're going to see a whole lot of sunshine out there throughout the rest of this Tuesday. Early morning temperatures in the upper 50s, lower 60s for most of us. We're sitting at about 64 degrees right now. Those winds coming out of the south at about 7 miles per hour. Throughout the rest of the day, though, seeing more of that heat settling in. Starting to crank up there, getting into the 90s by this afternoon, and we got plenty more of those 90s ahead for us, but we might see some rain on the horizon. I'll have the latest on that coming up.
Fingers crossed for that. Thank you, John. Over in the Tall City, firefighters hoping a catchy phrase sticks with homeowners. Don't wait, check the date. The Midland Fire Department receiving close to 2,000 poster contest entries from students across the basin. It's all part of a 60-year-old nationwide campaign allowing students to submit a poster to bring awareness to National Fire Prevention Week. Students K through 12th grades submitting entries for this year's theme, replace smoke alarms every 10 years.
We're encouraging everyone to look at their smoke detectors at home and check and make sure that that detector is not over 10 years old.
Prizes from the contest will be awarded at the Central Fire Station in Midland Wednesday at 9:30 in the morning. Meanwhile, an alarming statistic down of Midland shows a widening achievement gap among minorities in the district. Data from the Texas Education Agency says 1 in 4 African American students won't graduate on time. Local 2's Casey Jones sat down with the MISD interim superintendent as he explains how his academic reform plan will make sure no student is left behind.
Graduation, one of the happiest days of academia. But data shows every student at Midland ISD isn't walking across the stage. 89.5% of white students graduate in 4 years, 79.4% of Hispanic students, and 73.5% of black students. Simply put, 1 in 4 African American students in Midland won't get their high school diploma in 4 years.
It's important for us to know our current reality so that we can get better.
Unflattering data, Schroeder tells me, is hurting the community.
And I'm telling staff, you know, for every student who doesn't graduate, we're creating a permanent underclass.
Schroeder initiating academic reform focused on 3 specific categories: growth mindset, no excuses, and instructional process.
The strategies I talked to you about really don't involve money. They involve attitude, beliefs, and a good process.
Paired with help from other sources.
We know that it takes an entire village to raise a child. So if we've got even one child not graduating, to me, that's not good enough.
Robin Fuller, executive director of the African American Chamber of Commerce, tells me less diplomas mean less businesses.
We want all of our children graduating. And so what we're going to do is to work with organizations and other churches and groups to fix the problem.
Casey Jones, Local 2 News.
Casey, thanks. Now, some aspects of Schroeder's plan have already been put into action. He tells us he's hoping to see some results by 2017. Speaking of education, Midland ISD now back to the drawing board after the tax rate hike didn't pass in Saturday's election. The proposed increase would have helped cut down on the district's $25 million budget deficit. The Midland ISD School Board met for the first time Monday since Saturday when voters didn't pass the tax rate. And now MISD facing more budget cuts to make up for it.
When 80 to 85% of your budget's in personnel, the only real way to get to those kinds of cuts is looking at staffing.
Garcia says staff cuts, unfortunately, are not avoidable. Right now, they're looking at cutting about 60 administrative, teaching, and support positions within the district. He hopes to have an updated budget finalized with the new cuts just in time for the school board vote on the next meeting in November. Local to your local election headquarters, and what does it take to run for office? Basic qualifications aside, what kind of impact does your behavior and body language have on poll numbers? While Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump has shaken up the political status quo, we wanted to know what are some of the more traditional tips given to those vying for your vote. Local 2's Ryan Martin has more from analysts and a former candidate.
Inspector Mike Griffiths learned some lessons after his quest to become Ector County Sheriff.
I tried to relax more, and the more relaxed you are, the better you will perform, and that was my goal.
This is just one of the many steps a candidate should take when on a debate stage. And Bill Harlow adds, this also includes prepping for every possible question.
You don't have an oops moment where somebody asks you a fairly obvious question and you're not prepared with an adequate response. In terms of
History professor Derek Katzum points out that in today's social media world, candidates' performance matters, even when they aren't responding to a question.
It seems like the best approach is simply to look like you're being thoughtful, that you're thinking about what your opponent is saying without reacting to it.
Analysts say when seated at a table such as this, candidates should look natural with their hand position. And when they're standing at a podium, they should grip the podium, but not to grip it too tight, as their hand placement can make them look either angry or nervous.
Once the cameras start rolling and all of your support staff moves away and it's just you on the stage, it becomes a lot more difficult to remember every one of those little things that you're supposed to do and be natural in the process.
Ryan Martin, Local 2 News.
Ryan, thanks. Well, I'm not vying for any votes, but I don't know what to do with my hands anymore this morning. But speaking of elections, time is running out. And if you want to vote in the general election November 8th, today is your very last chance to make changes to your voter registration. So if you need to check on your voting status, we have the phone number for the Midland and Odessa offices, along with a link to take you to other basin counties over at yourbasin.com. Switching gears now, oil prices stabilizing, along with many West Texans' nerves. I know that. Oil prices this week hitting around and above the magic number of $50 a barrel. Financial advisors pointing to the recent OPEC meeting for the push in prices.
Higher oil prices are always good for us out here. That's the driver of our economy. Today specifically, oil prices are up about 2.5% based on the Russian president coming in and saying that he's for the talks that are ongoing.
And with these oil prices increasing, the local economy could see an upward swing and no doubt giving many some job security. Moving to Odessa now, where Grace McDonald is expected to make her first court appearance this morning. Her arraignment and bond reduction hearing set for 9:30. You'll remember Grace was indicted back in September after police linked her and her brother, Gabe McDonald, to the murder of their parents, Greg and Janet McDonald, back in March. She was recently extradited back to Ector County after being in Arizona. Meanwhile, her brother, Gabe McDonald, still in custody awaiting trial. The affidavit for his arrest stating he told his sister he was going to shoot their parents in the middle of the night. Staying in Odessa, it's a problem that still stands at the Ector County Clerk's office this morning. Officials bringing up the reoccurring pigeon problem in hopes of taking steps toward a solid solution. Local 2's Don Log tells us what they plan to do next.
The bad timing with the economy, of course, we're already short-handed and as far as funds go.
Precinct 2 Commissioner Greg Simmons talking about the continuous pigeon problem at the Ector County Courthouse that was discussed in Monday's meeting. A frustrating process that they're ready to resolve.
But it wasn't a budgeted item, so it was something we could have used that money for 2 different patrol cars or things like that that would be more in line with what we would have hoped to spend the money on.
Commissioners agreeing to let building maintenance officials start taking bids on permanent solutions while they try to keep the building as sanitary as possible in the meantime.
Now we're just trying to make sure that doesn't just keep happening over and over again.
Since the massive cleanup about a month ago to maintain the cleanliness, maintenance crews coming out here once every 2 weeks for about 2 hours to scoop up and continue cleaning up the mess. And this is what they're going to have to do until the Commissioner's Court can decide on a final solution.
Building Maintenance Director Octavio Carrillo says a likely solution, netting around the whole building that could cost between $80,000 and $100,000, on top of the $60,000 in reserve funds the county has already spent cleaning up.
If we can avoid them from roosting in the honeycomb, that will solve most of our problems with the birds and the problems they've caused for us.
So this issue can come to an end once and for all.
We want to make sure that the workplace that our employees work in and that the public comes to is as clean and safe as possible.
Dawn Log, Local 2 News.
Don, thank you. Simmons says the commission will know more when they get some bids back from companies so they can gauge how much they're willing to spend on a permanent solution.